Welcome to the Dirty Penguin Presents
Now Showing.
That's right. Welcome to the Dirty Penguin Presents Now Showing. I'm joined in the igloo today, as always, by my faithful penguin co-hosts, Doug, Angie, Jesse, and Andy. Today we're talking about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the Quentin Tarantino vehicle.
Absolutely. Give us those fresh movie facts, Doug.
Fresh facts, buddy.
Give it to us straight, Doug.
Play the facts.
Give it to us straight, Doug.
It's a good song, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great.
It's
You
so
just get so
catchy.
into it.
So this is written and directed by Quentin Tarantino. It's his 9th film.
Out of 10,
Out
right?
of 10.
That's
He
what they
says
allege.
He
That is
alleges
what
he's
they allege.
retiring after his 10th.
Oh.
So this is starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie,
And a slew of others.
And a whole
Al
shit ton of
Pacino,
people.
Kurt Russell,
Luke Perry.
Timothy
Perry.
Olyphant,
The late
Luke
I know.
Perry.
Luke Perry's
in his last movie.
And the late Dylan
It
Walsh.
still
Was
hurts.
it Dylan? What was
Yes.
it? Dylan Walsh?
Yes.
No,
No.
it was Dylan McKay.
Dylan
Dylan McKay, that's
You're-
right. And
you're
Brandon
com-
Walsh.
You're
right?
combining the two hotties.
Dakota
from-
Fanning.
Yeah.
Dakota Fanning.
Fan-
Yes.
I didn't realize that was
Yeah.
Dakota Fanning.
They say Twinton Tarantino.
I like that. Let's call him
Yeah,
Quentin.
Quentin Tarantino.
Quentin Tarantino has.
No, it's Quentin Tarantino.
They said this guy has worked on the screenplay for 5 years and it was supposed to be a novel,
Yeah.
but then he realized it would be a better movie.
Yeah, like he's going to stick to a novel.
So the actor-stuntman relationship by Leo and Pitt are inspired by Burt Reynolds and Hal Needham. Hal Needham was his personal stuntman, and he became a stunt coordinator, and he ended up directing Smokey and the Bandit.
Oh, right on.
Okay.
To piggyback on that, Burt Reynolds was supposed to be cast as George Spahn, the old man,
Ah.
but he died
Yeah.
before they could film it.
Wow, how
That was
unfortunate.
Bruce Dern, right?
Yeah,
Bruce
it
Dern.
was
Dern,
Bruce
yes.
Dern, yes.
Oh.
The title,
That would have
would've
been
been
really
pretty
freaking cool.
cool.
I would have liked that.
the title is an homage to Sergio Leone, who directed Once Upon a Time in the West and Once Upon a Time in America. Leonardo DiCaprio undertook a strict workout routine in order to convincingly play. I'm sorry, I can't even say it and laugh. Convincingly play an action star, giving up pastas and desserts and doing hundreds of push-ups a day. And man, was he ripped in this movie.
Did you ever see him without it? I don't think you ever
No.
saw him without his
No.
shirt off.
No,
I mean,
you
he's
did
like
not.
rock level
No,
ripped in
no,
this movie.
let's not.
You're being
like-
facetious.
But he gave up pasta and desserts.
Yeah, actually, with the
But he
character
didn't
he's
give up
playing,
alcohol.
That's what
I think for the character he's playing, he looked appropriate.
he looked like a 60s action star, yes.
He did. I will give him. He had the Adam West bod going.
He had there's that great bit in Family Guy where they're like, it's 50s muscle man, and it's like, I got a big chest and a big gut. That was
Actually, that's a specific actor in those Family Guys. I don't remember his name, though.
so yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Though.
Poor audience who doesn't, because I can't remember the name of the actor.
The film was originally scheduled to be released on August 9th, 2019, the 50th anniversary of the Tate Bianca murders, but then Sony changed the release date.
Because it was the 50th anniversary of the murders, or because it was tacky, or why did they change it?
I don't know.
Because of
Well,
reasons.
reasons.
You probably need to look at what's opening on the 9th. Like a lot of that is what moves when they do.
So it had nothing to do with it
I have
was
no
in
idea.
poor taste that it was on the anniversary of the murders.
No, but I
Okay,
think. But
I just wanted to make sure that they
I
don't
don't
care.
I think
it
you're
is.
jumping past the 15-minute mark, sir.
so
Back it up. Back it up.
So,
Take a
hold
deep
on.
breath.
Sharon Tate's sister gave approval to Tarantino because this movie because she liked the way Sharon Tate was portrayed in this movie. So that family actually agreed with this movie.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah, that was
while
a
we were
question that we
watching
were
the movie.
asking.
That was actually one I didn't write down. I just remembered.
They thought that they brought her like back to life. Like they liked her portrayal.
Mm-hmm.
They liked how she was portrayed.
DiCaprio was courted for several months to take on this film, and he finally agreed to do it. So I got one last one. It's a
Okay.
pretty long one, but it's pretty interesting about
All
Brad
right, throw
Pitt.
it out there.
Brad Pitt was reportedly in talks for an unspecified role in the film, which is rumored to be a detective investigating the murders. Eventually, he turned it down. Negotiations stopped for a couple months, and it was assumed Pitt wasn't interested. Tarantino then tried to consider Tom Cruise for a role that Pitt declined, and it never materialized with Cruise, so Tarantino then went back to Pitt for the stuntman role, which Pitt wanted to do. Oh, last thing. Tarantino confirmed his next film will be to a certain degree based on the Charles Manson murders and other various murders from the year 1969.
That'll be his 10th movie?
Mm-hmm.
That'll be his swan song.
Will it be
Okay.
a comedy?
Will it be a musical?
Well, I mean,
Has he ever done a comedy?
I thought his 10th movie was going to be a Star Trek.
This movie is billed as a comedy.
Hold on, let me soak that in for a second. Yeah,
I
So,
wouldn't
let's-
consider it a comedy. I would consider it a movie that had funny moments.
So when we decided to do this, Andy was the one who didn't choose a movie. He suggested it.
I suggested that we do this film. Yes.
So Andy, we'll let you kick it off.
For our audience that's listening right now, this is a spoiler-free review
Yes. So yeah,
until
we will.
a certain time.
Yeah, we will let you know when we flip the switch.
We'll send a
and
warning
we
shot.
go dirty on this.
So we're all good right now. This is spoiler-free.
spoiler-free.
This is our thoughts about the movie,
Spoiler free.
generally speaking.
Yeah.
Will the spoiler-free portion
Yes.
conclude with our flipper?
Yes.
Yeah, the
Count.
spoiler free it
'Cause we
will
wanna tell
conclude with our
people-
flippers up,
Our
flippers
flipper
down.
count.
So all these people who are listening are like, should I go see this movie?
Exactly.
Let me see what the Dirty Penguins tell
You think
me.
they're going to listen to the first 15 minutes and not listen to the spoilers?
Well, I would hope so.
They might.
And I hope that they do.
If you want, hey,
You have a lot
and
more
those of you
faith in
listening,
current
those of you
culture
listening,
than
if you
I do.
want to
I
listen to spoilers, if that's
Sure.
your game, if that's the
Yeah.
way you live your life, right
Yeah.
on.
I
If
love
you
that.
like that, that's
I mean,
that's
a
up
lot
to
of
you.
If
people-
you pick up a novel and flip to the last page to see how it ends before you
Well,
read it, go for it.
You never know. People might think they're going to die before they finish the book and want to know how it ends.
You know, I didn't know people actually did that until somebody mentioned it, and it's like, but what?
It's when
It's
Harry met
perplexing.
Sally. That's what Billy Crystal does. And when Harry met Sally, he's always reads the
There you
last
go.
page.
So
You want to talk about morbid?
So spoiler free,
Yeah.
but we will give our thoughts, just general thoughts
Yes.
on this movie. Andy, since it was your suggestion, how do you feel about this?
So, I saw the film. I left the theater. My mind, I was trying to figure out, did I like it or did I not like it? I have determined I liked it. I really liked it. And I really enjoyed Brad Pitt. I think he stole the show for me. He is freaking amazing in this film. I think there's a lot to unpack with this movie. I think if I was giving somebody a recommendation to see it, I would tell them that, one, if you're a fan of Quentin Tarantino, you're probably going to like it regardless of what I say. If you're seeing it because you're a history buff and you like the Sharon Tate movies, you may or may not like it. I don't know. I can't answer that question. Maybe when we get into the spoiler zone, I'll have more to say on that. It is a part of the problem with the film is in the middle part of it. I would say it is rambling. It meanders. There's a couple of points where you're sitting
meanders,
there
yes.
asking. You're sitting there. You're asking yourself, is there a story? Is something like what am I? Where? What? That's why I left walking to the car going, did I like that? Did I not like it? It could definitely benefit from some tighter editing, but that has never been
God, thank you so much. Yes.
that has never been Quentin Tarantino's strong point. So it's kind of it is messy, it rambles, and there are times
you
where,
liked
where
it.
And this is the
if you
positive
like
review.
if you like Tarantino,
Hold on,
if you like Tarantino, that might not bother you whatsoever because he rambles and meanders in a lot of his work. But the acting performances of, well, for me, Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie, and Leonardo DiCaprio are excellent. They're great character studies, and it's if you just want to enjoy some cool characters, and then I think the last act of the film is pretty amazing and kind of pulls and ties the whole thing together for me. So I would say I liked it, and I would say I definitely would recommend it if you want to see some great acting performances.
Yeah, before we start, I see y'all are chomping on the bit to talk about this. Let me keep some positivity here. I like this movie. I really did.
Thank you, Doug.
I'm a Tarantino fan. It's shot. Kevin probably disagree. I enjoy how Quentin Tarantino shoots movies. I think it's beautifully shot. I do agree with is there a story here? It's almost a character study, and I liked DiCaprio in this movie. I liked Pitt in this movie. I could almost done without Margot Robbie in this movie. I think it would have been a better movie if it had been.
Well, when we get to the spoiler part, I want to defend Margot Robbie in this movie because I kind of I think I kind of followed you on that
She
thought
was
line.
fine in the movie. I enjoyed her in this movie. But I would have more enjoyed a Rick Dalton, Cliff, whatever his name was, Booth movie.
But when
if it was just them.
When
and
we
Yeah.
get into the spoilers, I want to defend why it's important to have Margot Robbie in the film.
so okay.
Why it's important to have her
for
character.
the end.
So I did enjoy this movie. I did walk out of it knowing like a lot of people are not going to like this movie. It seems to be getting good reviews from users, but I like this movie. But I think I'm trying to go on a scale.
Can you
like,
read my face?
Keep them high and like
Work your way down. Work your way down.
In true Tarantino fashion, he meanders and loses the story a little bit in the middle. I got to go flippers down on this one. I did not like this movie. I didn't like it.
That's
You
disappointing.
surprised?
Jess, I am shocked. I thought
Really?
you would at least give it one flipper up.
After hearing what Doug had said, I will agree with you that I enjoy the look of a Tarantino film. I think it is a beautiful look, but I also agree that this movie has absolutely no plot whatsoever, except for some vaguely factual historical references to some things that actually happened.
I think what I have to say, I guess I don't feel like I can say much. A lot of the stuff I have to say to support my point is full of spoilers. So
Past the
I
spoiler
feel like
zone.
I'm kind of just tied here, but I didn't. I like Tarantino. I like his. I like
wanted
his,
to
most
go-
of his.
I wanted to like this movie going into it, and there were some parts where I genuinely chuckled.
I think I was the only one in my theater who laughed.
There was smatterings throughout the theater when I was there, and I mean, it was very like sparse.
The biggest laugh in the theater from the audience when I saw it was a scene that's in the preview, which is some of the outtakes of
Oh yeah.
Leonardo
By himself.
Dancing, yeah.
Yes, they're in the preview, so I don't feel like I'm spoiling
Yeah,
it.
Okay.
the
But
laugh
that
in
got
kind
the,
of
the laugh
yeah.
in stuff got the
Yeah.
biggest. Yeah.
I feel this movie could have been an hour shorter.
Oh my God! Thank you so much. Yes, tighter
said
editing.
tighter
Yes,
editing.
tighter.
No,
No, you're
I
absolutely
much
right.
agree
No,
with that.
much
Tighter
tighter.
editing.
Like at the very least, they could have cut an hour out.
Just the establishing shots alone
Yes.
were way too long.
And as I'm sitting here watching it, I'm like, this is what Kevin feels like when he's watching a
Christopher
Nolan film.
Exactly.
This feeling right now, where I'm just like,
Just so many things like that you don't need.
So
It was-
so you had kind of mentioned this with when we were like in text messages to us about the
Establishing shots.
establishing shots.
Yes.
So movies like The Bourne Identity. Have you ever seen The Bourne Identity?
Yes.
Doug Liman, who did that, he was one of the first people to like show them walk to the car and then cut to them opening the door. And I think there's this thing, and they say if they had kept all those scenes in it of them just like walking to the car or walking to open the door, and he makes it like they do the action towards it and then they show him opening the door. That it cut like 30 minutes out of the movie just from him not doing that. And like I even said at a point where I went to the bathroom and Margot Robbie's walking around. And I I took a piss. And I came back.
I just want to throw something out here. I just want to
Exactly.
say something real quick. I took a piss at the same point. She was walking around. I came back. She was still walking around. I don't feel like I missed anything.
Well, everyone had to
It's
go
all
at least
good.
at one point. The movie was
I
7
know.
hours long.
I just want to say, Doug,
This
you and I
movie was
think a lot. We
conservatively
chose the
7 hours
same.
long.
We weren't even seeing at the same time, but I
this
chose the
looks like
same
it'll take a
moment.
while.
Yeah,
I'm
this
gonna
is.
go take a piss.
Yeah,
Exactly,
Yeah,
that-
you get a feel for Quentin Tarantino. You're like, and now's a good.
You say, I mean, you use the adjective meandering, and I mean, I think that's too nice of an adjective to use. It's
Well,
dragging.
when you say tighter editing, there's a lot of like if you just cut around some of the driving.
But it's a very
There's a
Well,
lot of scenes of
not
people driving
not
around.
even that.
And, not
It's
even,
just-
and
But
different
you're- no, no, no,
characters driving. And
You're
different-
absolutely right.
I don't
Every
read all
time
that.
they back out, right? They back out, and it's profile shot all the way down that.
Yeah, I
that,
didn't know
that
if he
drive
was
that
just
looked
trying to-
just like
So
Grand
that
Theft Auto
is,
5.
so one of the things I think. Hold on, let me get the voice. One of the things I think Tarantino's trying to do in this movie. It's a very throwback to like 70s and 60s movies that do it all. I mean, if you watch a 60s or 70s movie, they do it all
It's
the
a
time.
love letter
Well, yes,
to
but
those.
they didn't take 2.5 hours to do it.
And to get into the thing about the plot, from what I read, it's more of a story about Hollywood
It is.
than
That
it
is
is
definitely in there.
about.
But is it a
No,
story
it's not.
though? Is it a story?
No, it's not. This
I
is
think
a
both-
bunch of vignettes of pieces of shows.
No, no, no.
So, no, it is. That's exactly
yes,
what it is.
so
It's
I
a
have-
bunch of vignettes
I have-
with a half of a story
Wait,
about an actor
I
and a
have two-
stuntman.
Hold on,
I have two,
Angie,
hold on. I
there's-
have two thoughts that I want to say on that. Number one,
Spoiler free.
about 30% into the movie, I'm like, am I watching Family Guy? Is this a family? Is this
bunch
because
of cut-
because it's a bunch of cutaways. It's a bunch of vignettes.
Cutscenes.
It's like here's a setup, boom, cutaway.
And
Here's another
those-
setup, boom, cutaway, and they were fine. But and then, so Quentin Tarantino does meander. He does do the vignette thing. He's just like, here's what's happening with these people. Here's what's happening with these people. Here's what's happening with these people. But then eventually the story comes together
So
and
he
it
does-
gels into a complete plot.
So he doesn't
and
crash.
story.
He does crash.
This movie doesn't do that for me.
But yeah, he does Crash normally very well. Where, in Crash, did you ever see the movie Crash?
I have not.
Oh, it's
It, won a-
spectacular.
it was one of those movies that people really hate, and it won Best Picture. But
Is that
it's
the one where
of
they
those-
wreck into each other to have sex?
It's
What?
yes, but
Yeah,
that's
sort of.
one of the plots.
Yeah, there's
That's
But
why
it's
I've never
one of
seen it.
those.
I
But
don't-
it's one of those where it's like 5 different people.
5 storylines.
And
Well,
they all come together.
they all
Very
converge.
Go-ish. Go is another
Go
movie that does
and
that.
Yeah.
Pulp Fiction is
Pulp
like that.
Fiction
Yes,
is very
Pulp
much like
Fiction.
that. Where
Yeah.
like Bruce Willis,
Which is what I was thinking of when I was
Yeah.
walks
saying
in when like they're at Jules and they're at the
Well,
bar.
Pulp
and they,
Fiction, I would argue, is vignettes that are tied together by
Very-
a central
Well, and
theme.
that's what I was
like very
So-
well
when
done.
I was describing it. That is what Quentin Tarantino does, but it does come together as a story. And so when you're done, you're like, oh, I
But
see
Pulp
what
Fiction
this
is purposely
like.
doing it because it's based off Pulp Fiction, and the idea of all these different pulp stories are tied together. I think in this film, your feeling that you're getting that they are being vignettes is being caused by his homage to
being
Hollywood
vignettes?
and that period of Hollywood. So there's a lot of different things he's doing throughout the film.
I can't
that-
talk anymore about this
that-
until we
No,
get to a
okay.
spoiler.
We-
yeah,
That gives
I mean,
you-
a lot of
that
my
is-
other
is
points.
to, is to
Yeah.
make you feel.
I completely disagree with
truth
that,
of Hollywood.
but I
No.
can't
Okay.
talk about
I
it
would-
until we get to the spoiler.
Can we
So-
get everyone
Spoilers.
on the record though for those that are listening now that want
What's
a
that flipper count?
recommendation?
2 flippers up.
I give it. Oh God. This I see because I want to like it, and it is shot
no.
beautifully on
It
35
is.
millimeter.
I think that's
Absolutely.
what
God,
one
it
Yes.
looks so
What's the
fucking
sto-
good.
The story.
I know, but
There is-
Do you
that's-
want to
one.
see this again?
would you recommend someone see this movie? If someone's like, "Hey man, I want to go see
No,
Once
I
Upon a
wouldn't.
Time," then I mean,
No.
kind of answers.
Then-
If you were
then-
like, "No, don't go see it," I mean, that's not even like, you may like it. You're just
I
saying
mean, be
no.
true to yourself. It's
I
he
would
can
say,
do better.
I would say.
Look into your heart.
I would say there are
when
better
it's calling
Tarantino
for you,
movies.
look into your heart.
That's what I would say. If you want to go see a Tarantino movie, go see a better one because
Yeah.
this is not even the third best Tarantino movie.
And that's my deal. People are like, this is the best Tarantino movie. It's like, no,
No,
every
it's not.
other Tarantino movie.
Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction is the
Reservoir
best.
Dogs.
Reservoir Dogs. This
Those
is
are my
not
two
the best
favorites
Tarantino.
till this one.
Django,
probably.
I like Django.
I like
Oh,
Inglourious
I haven't seen
Basterds.
Django
Django.
yet.
Not a fan of the last one.
Hateful.
I saw
I
Hateful
hate-
Eight.
I
She
did
was
not
like,
like
I didn't
that
like
movie.
the,
I did
I
not
liked
like
Hateful
that
Eight
I have
more than
not
this
seen
one.
Hateful Eight.
I liked it.
I thought at least had a better story.
I would
It
be
had a
willing to
story.
go up for Hateful Eight.
Thank you.
It took me forever to see Inglourious Bastards, and when I
I
finally
liked
did,
that.
was good.
I really enjoyed it.
I
That
liked that.
was very good.
And that has a lot in common with this
It
movie.
does. We can.
But that was good.
I want to talk about that.
Okay, so
Later.
Andy, you're flippers. You're both flippers up.
I'm 2.
Like I said, I can't because it's
Just
beautiful.
Say.
I'm one flipper up.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh, you gave it
conflicted
one.
one
Man,
flipper.
I am two flippers down. I didn't like it.
I agree with if you're a fan of Quentin Tarantino and you're willing to like slog through this, I'll do one flipper up. It is beautifully shot.
It
The
is.
acting, like
The technical aspect
The tech-
of it,
it-
like I wasn't a fan of Brad Pitt's acting. I wasn't, or
Give it
not-
to us, Doug.
Well,
How many
wait,
flippers,
wait,
Doug?
wait,
Not-
wait.
I wasn't a fan of his accent. His accent.
His accent.
But Doug, go
I
ahead.
didn't have a problem with that. So one flipper up for me.
This
Just-
movie. I will not deny this movie has a lot of problems. I enjoyed it. I can see how people don't wouldn't like this movie, but yeah, 2 flippers up. It's a good movie.
6 out of 10 flippers.
I had to write that
There you
down and
have it.
add them, but Andy
Yeah.
with the
6 out
Andy
of
with
10
the
flippers.
math.
Flippers, folks.
The
Go
Dirty
see it.
Penguin gives you 6 out of 10
Wait.
on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Can we do half flippers?
No.
No, it has
No.
to be whole flipper.
Your half
Okay.
flipper is one up.
Yeah.
And I mean, basically, that's what we gave them. We're giving them 5. I mean, I'll put it like this.
You gotta.
To kind of get into the rating system that we've never really talked about. 7, I think, is considered like a
Fresh?
must-see. Fresh.
Okay.
Or right. I don't think we could say that.
We're
Frozen.
penguins, so we like it cold.
Oh, I
So-
see where you're going
Oh,
with this.
yeah.
I like it.
Frozen solid.
How about
Iceberg.
Frozen solid
let's say
or
chill?
warm and runny.
Iceberg chill.
So the chill factor on this movie
Chill.
is 6
Ooh,
flippers.
I like-
If it's 0 if 0, it's like global warming. We're swimming.
Yeah.
We're,
Right,
we're,
right.
we're in the Houston Zoo.
right.
We've lost our habitat.
This movie's a nice chill 6 out of 10.
So it's
6
a
out of
chill.
10,
So
chill.
what would a 7 or higher be? Would it
Must
be
see. You must go see
must
this movie.
see?
Yeah, that'd be-
Go
Iceberg.
see it. Why are you listening to this podcast? Why are you not at the movie theater?
that is a
7.
definite
Yeah, but
Arnold
if it's- but
Schwarzenegger.
if
It's a glacier of a
freeze
movie, I
pun.
tell
But
ya.
if 6 is chill,
What's 7?
then 7 is what?
That's what I was trying to get to. A
I know, that's
glacier
what
of a
I meant.
movie.
Exactly. Is
It's
it
the whole
frozen?
glacier.
A glacier's 10.
It's
out
a
of
whole
10.
glacier.
Come on
Yeah,
now.
a glacier would be 10.
The glacier tip.
Oh, the glacial tin.
It's cool. It's cool.
It's cool.
You know, we're not like
Ice cold.
you know, and then 0 is like
Ice,
surface of the sun.
Ice
Like,
cold.
why are you watching this movie? You should be dead. Like, don't go see this movie.
We're going to be working on our rating
Format.
system here.
No, it's solid.
Is that the rating system?
Solid.
Like solid
Solid.
cold.
Oh, solid
Solid
cold.
cold.
There we go.
Solid cold.
Top 10 solid cold. Welcome to Top 10 Solid Cold with your Dirty Penguin.
This movie made the Ice Age.
Well, I
All
think
right,
we
are
should
we ready to
Now
talk
we're
about this
stepping
movie?
Okay,
into
that's
the
that warning bell. That
spoiler
warning bell
zone.
you were working on.
Yeah,
here.
are you ready? Let's just drop the bomb.
Absolutely.
Let's just drop the bomb.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Welcome to the
Spoilers
spoiler zone.
engaged.
Spoilers engaged to full automation.
Okay,
I just put my spoilers on
Now
my
you
Honda
step
Civic.
into the
I'm
spoiler
ready.
zone.
I got my Folgers can. All right,
Okay.
All right.
Angie.
And this isn't technically a spoiler. I still want to talk about the ridiculous number of previews before this movie.
This is not unique to this movie, but I am 100%
So
in
go.
agreement with you.
There
Go.
were 9. There were 9
think
I'm
we
not
can-
sure
yeah,
what
I think I
happened when you
counted
saw it,
movie.
but when I saw it, for some reason, we got to the previews, and then they started the previews all again. I don't know.
Oh my god!
We got to watch all the
crazy.
previews twice.
No,
I'm
first of all-
curious. I'm curious. When I was a kid,
I love the previews.
there we go. That's what I was gonna say. And
You're welcome, Doug.
I probably see the most movies. I see 3 to 4 movies a month at the theater. So I'm used to seeing all the previews. Of course, if I really don't want to see them, I kind of just show up late because you got 20 minutes. It's gonna be 20
Right.
minutes of previews. Period.
Yeah, minimum.
I enjoy the previews because it's like sometimes you see them that you haven't seen before.
Here's my deal. Fine. Previews are fun. I enjoy previews as well. This was a 2 3/4 hour movie. Let's not add another 20 to 30 minutes in previews.
But they got you there. They're gonna do it.
Yeah,
I mean, they got
and
you
that's
there.
what they say
They're
the
gonna-
start time of the movie is.
I like the previews.
You know, they say the start time of the movie is like we went to a 10:30 showing. The movie didn't. The house lights didn't go actually down to start the movie till 5 after 11.
So
That's crazy.
That is
Yeah.
insane.
Too many previews.
To the
Well,
movie. To
there-
the movie. To the movie.
there
Real
you go.
quick. This is a revisionist history, right?
yeah,
like-
just like
and-
Inglourious Bastards.
So,
But I wouldn't say it's revisionist history so much as
Quentin Tarantino's want to be so self-indulgent for himself and redirect his childhood.
no. I would say he's it's a play on Once Upon a Time.
yeah,
So
because
you have
one,
it's his homage to the Once Upon a Time movies, which are known for their ultraviolence. He is also semi known for ultraviolence, so he plays on the use of the words "Once Upon a Time." However, he's also doing the almost a double entendre in that this is a fairy tale.
Yes.
And which is why the young lady is reading a autobiography of Walt Disney on the set, because he's letting you know he's doing what Walt Disney did with all those wonderful films like Little Mermaid, and he's changing the ending.
yes.
He's giving you a happy ending.
I did
which
catch
is what
that. I wish
which
he'd
is
given
what
me a
happens
happy
in
ending.
fairy tales. It's what happens in Walt Disney movies for the longest time. They take a very dark.
Yeah, but another story. They take a story that's
Well,
already.
no, but I
a
mean, like the real Little Mermaid, like she couldn't walk on.
I mean,
her
how much
feet.
No,
better
but I know,
would
but
the
it's
movie
all-
of
she
Titanic
turns
have
to
been
foam.
if the
But
ship
no,
had
she turns to
sank?
foam.
Foam.
it's
Seafoam.
already a story. It's already a fable. It's already lore.
Well, but here's the
It's
thing,
not,
like those are
this really
stories.
happened.
This really happened. But I did catch that. Once upon a time, a fairy tale that starts with Once Upon a Time is going to end with a happy ending.
Yeah.
And he ended this with, hey, what if she hadn't gotten viciously killed?
Yeah.
And by the way, I just want to point out that it's not a fairy tale. We lived it.
They live.
The
point is they live.
It's not that they lived happily ever after.
That's our callback to our
Ever after
episode.
with Drew Barrymore
So
and
if you,
some
like
other guy.
if you like this, I don't see how you didn't like Ever After.
So I mean, I get it, and I mean, in reality, history is stories. I mean, like you
yes,
know,
but
I mean,
this real.
Who had a better
course it really
story
happened.
than
This
Brad?
isn't a take on some story that we've heard. This is just my criticism of it. It was like
look,
Inglorious
I'll
Bastards.
put it like this: it's one of those. It's not too soon. Like if they did a movie where it was like, and then we stopped all the bombers in 9/11, like everybody'd be like, "Well, hold, like let's
Maybe.
pump the brakes
Well,
on
you
this."
know, maybe Quentin Tarantino could make that movie in another.
In another 20,
50
30
years.
years?
Make it good,
Yeah,
though.
maybe.
Well, what was?
I mean, this happened in
Thank you.
60
Make it-
This
make it
happened
good.
in
What's-
it wasn't a
69.
good. It
What's
wasn't
the South Park?
well
So
done.
it's almost.
how long,
It's
how long-
almost.
How long does it have to go before we can talk about it?
Built
This
the
is what,
ladder
48
to
years ago?
heaven.
1969.
I
So
just-
50,
This is 69.
It was the 50th anniversary is when this was supposed
Well,
to be
there,
done.
well, there you go. 50 years ago, he took an event that happened 50 years ago. He created fictional characters that move in and out of that event. Now, part of my hesitance to originally like the film is based off the fact that it does rely on a trick. The movie only works if you know what originally happened, if you know about the Sharon Tate murders. Because if you
That's
don't
right.
know about the Sharon Tate murders, the movie doesn't work. It would fall
I
apart.
agree.
That's true.
The whole,
I
the
agree.
whole plot doesn't work, and the whole idea that he turned it into a fairy tale doesn't work. His Margot Robbie does a great job. Every time she's on the scene, there's a certain sense of dread. You're watching the film going, she's such a nice person. She's such a cool person.
This is a dread.
I want...
Brad Pitt walking through that house and that whole scene.
Oh, that whole scene is...
When
Oh,
he's
to go see George?
and he's
Genius,
like,
yes.
nah, I didn't want to go see him. And then he's like
Oh,
walking.
yeah.
And I mean,
The whole-
and then like that was one where you'd say, oh man, he had the establishing shot of him. But him walking, that whole scene.
But can I say
was
something
like,
real quick? That's also when I realized sitting in the film that Quentin Tarantino had did something genius, which was to locate and find another group of people in history that it's perfectly fine to slaughter and kill in any way you want. That group of hippies that followed Manson, the family, they are his Nazis in this film.
Yes.
And just like in Inglorious Bastards, it's perfectly okay to kill as many Nazis and however you want to kill them. It's fun to watch because we hate these people. He found a
Because
group
who's going
of...
to defend killing Nazis?
He-
Who's going
he-
to defend killing the Manson family?
There you go. He found and created, and the tension there is palpable when he's walking across there to go see George, and you're watching. Who knew
I mean,
it?
all the
I
way
didn't
up
know
to him, like,
I
saying,
didn't know
George,
hippies could be so
George.
freaking scary.
See,
But that-
I disagree because I wonder what it'd be for someone who has no idea, like zero
well,
background.
that's what I'm saying. I don't know
Because-
that if it would work if you don't know, and if you're not expecting the Sharon Tate murders. I mean, the
Okay.
whole expectation of the Sharon Tate murders makes the end of the film work.
I-
If you're not expecting that,
My question would be, if you don't know the Sharon Tate murders, that's one of the draws to this movie.
Yeah.
that is the draw of the movie.
I knew.
I know. Well, other than the fact, I mean, and when I'm talking about a draw to this movie, other than that, it's a Leonardo DiCaprio movie, it's a Brad Pitt movie, it's a Quentin Tarantino movie. If you know what the Sharon Tate murder is, that's why you're going to see this movie.
I very vaguely. I knew she had been murdered. I didn't know. Like when he was doing the hippie walk, I didn't get the connection with the Manson.
The hippie walk.
The hippie walk
At the ranch?
At the ranch, yes.
Oh,
yeah, at the ranch. That when he's walking through the ranch and doing that, looking at all the hippies. I didn't get
so
the
you
Manson
didn't know
connection.
who Squeaky Fromm was?
No, I did not. I didn't know who they were.
Okay.
But I didn't care enough to really
You didn't know who killed her?
And so I didn't know who killed her.
So did you get the 2
I
minutes
thought, I
of?
honestly,
did you
I
know
honestly
Charles?
thought her
Did you see
husband had
Charles
done it for
Manson
some
in the movie?
reason.
So you realize that was Charles Manson, right? Who came to her house.
Did
And
you
he's
see-
like, hey, is Melcher here?
Yeah,
And they're like,
is
"Oh,
Terry
no."
here? Yeah.
Nope.
That was Charles Manson.
That's Charles Manson driving in the ice cream truck.
After I watched the movie, because for some reason I confused her story with another actress's story.
Who?
The one who got killed in the boat and
That's Natalie Wood.
Natalie
Natalie
Wood.
Wood,
I
thank you.
confused her story
Robert
with Natalie
Wagner.
Wood.
But there's kind of
Robert
there's
Wagner and Christopher
Walken.
Walken. And I'm like, where's Christopher Walken?
Yeah.
And then I was just like, okay, so this must not be that story. And then I had to look it up afterwards. I expected Sharon Tate to die, but I was confusing her death with another actress's
Oh,
death.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I think
tied
people
into
need
the
to be
movie.
reminded of
I think the
think
murder,
it's
the
okay to
Natalie
back
Wood
on
murder
Roman
is sort of tied into the movie. All these are myths and stories of Hollywood that he's kind of woven into his tale.
And so part of me really wants to like this movie because it could have been really good. It was just so long. It was so. It was
Like I said, I think he loses the narrative in the middle of the film. You honestly, at some point, ask yourself, "What?
Do you mean
what
the
is
part?
something going to happen
I
next?"
put it like this: when I walked out of the movie, there was a guy and his girlfriend or somebody behind me when I was walking out, and I think she asked her husband or her boyfriend or whatever, "Oh, did you like the movie?" And he said, "I like Tarantino movies, but that was a lot of build up for 2 minutes."
Exactly.
Exactly. The end is
Yeah.
amazing.
the end is
See,
amazing.
when we
That's
watched,
why I could
watch the end over and over again.
yes, the end was spectacular. The end was
That's
just like,
why
oh
I
my
give it
god,
one flipper.
yeah, it was.
Yeah, well,
I had to give
I had
it
to
at
take
least
away
one
from-
flip. I couldn't do a total like flippers down because it's so beautifully, visually beautiful. I think Leonardo
Funny.
DiCaprio is good in this movie.
Yes,
Well, he's
I
good,
agree.
but
I think he's good in the movie. To me, Brad Pitt steals the entire movie. But
Really?
I'm not a fan of his accent. He made some choices with his voice that I did not like.
I thought it was kind of more of a Brad Pitt being Brad Pitt on those choices, where he looks. Yeah, at some points something comes out of his mouth. You go, that kind of sounded like Tyler Durden. That kind of sounded like Brad Pitt when he was in Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Like there's sort of a certain amount of Brad Pitt being Brad Pitt in the film.
Well, because that's all he knows how to do.
No, well, some of my problems with Brad Pitt is he went to the Keanu Reeves Wooden School of Acting.
He's not a good actor.
He's like
he's
I-
nice to
I
look
like
He's
him.
very emotionless in a lot of his movies.
I
This
like
movie was completely different. I enjoyed him in this
I
movie.
liked him in this
It's probably my
movie.
favorite Brad Pitt movie.
Just real quick, and this has nothing to do with anything, but it looks like Angelina Jolie just sucked some of his life right out of him.
No.
Like she
What are
aged
you
him
talking about?
many,
He
many
looked
years.
great.
I don't
You
get any of
think
that.
he looks great?
He was like
Yeah.
Robert Redford. Come on,
Yeah.
man.
He did.
He was like spitting
Yeah,
in
I
it.
told-
Robert
there
I
was
Redford.
some
told
Robert
Doug
Redford
that
in
he
there,
looked
yeah.
like Robert Redford.
I
in some
told
of
her,
those.
I told her
But
it reminded me of Steve McQueen. Like
There's
he's
a
got
little bit
that
of that in
Steve
there.
McQueen look.
Steve McQueen has a rounder face.
I'm just saying, like Steve McQueen had a. He got a man. I love Steve McQueen.
Yeah, no,
I'm a
I
huge
saw,
Steve McQueen fan.
I saw Robert Redford, The Natural, in Brad Pitt.
He
So-
did a lot of the scenes when I looked at his face, I'm like, that looks like Robert Redford.
So to pull it back to what we were talking about a minute ago, if you don't know the Sharon Tate story, if you don't know the Charles Manson family, to get to that end, that we all agree that the end of the movie is
Yes.
fantastic,
It
right?
is
the way it
spectacular,
ends
yes.
is spectacular.
Yes, it is.
But to get there, he's drawing and relying on the fact that you know what happened in the Sharon
Yes.
Tate murders to have that tension, to have that sense of dread.
But
if you don't know
in-
what happened to Sharon Tate, the Margot Robbie scenes are not going to create that tension for you.
I disagree though there because I know about the murders and I followed them so much to where I knew about Spawn Ranch and George Spawn and all the people that he allowed to live there and how they got to live there with them. So I thought that scene with Brad Pitt
Walking
doing the
through
hippie walk
yeah.
was long and meandering in my opinion and I thought overdone and because I knew that
that scene
George
had me
Spawn
on the edge of my seat,
was gonna just be sitting.
Yeah,
but
she
they didn't
knew.
do
She
anything.
knew. Like people who follow the whole thing knows
they
that
didn't hurt him.
George
they
Spawn
didn't
didn't get
abuse
killed.
him.
He was always
you know,
he welcomed them there. He was
yeah, like
Oh.
he was having sex with all the
I don't
Charles
know, the
Manson
tension there is
groupies.
palpable.
I just
See, I
it
did
was
it
built
Because
up.
I guess because he's a fictional character, they could very easily have killed him off,
Who,
and
Brad
it
Pitt?
wouldn't have changed history at that point.
Who?
For me,
Do you mean
watching
George
the movie,
Spawn?
who.
He's not fictional.
Brad Pitt.
Yeah, no, yeah.
You could have killed Brad Pitt at any
Yes,
point
yeah.
during
yes,
that
yes.
scene.
I was waiting
And
for
I
him
was
to get killed off at some
I thought
point.
he might get killed off in that
Yes.
scene because
So-
to me he's
so
a
did
character at risk. He's completely fictional
See-
and will have no
And
influence.
he's almost even though he's a main character, he's the sidekick, right? To
He's a sidekick in
Leonardo
life,
DiCaprio.
just like he's the sidekick
and so
in the movie.
he's almost a sidekick in the movie, and so you're like,
Yeah.
he's expendable. You think in that movie, I mean, in this movie. I mean, he obviously at the end of the movie is not expendable. In fact, he is the key to this movie.
But again, that hippie scene, the at the ranch works for me because he could easily. It's like watching a movie where you know the hero can't die. You know that he's
So
the
you were
main
worried
lead.
about Brad Pitt. I was like,
Well,
I thought
yeah.
they were. No, I
I
know.
felt very. I was like, at any moment now, somebody can stab him and kill him.
They
And he's
established
dead.
Brad Pitt is like this badass.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like when you look at him, he's driving and he's got all these scars on him. And
Yeah, I
like,
know.
You know,
I
he
saw
takes
that.
his shirt off and it's like nothing but scars. And he tells all these stories, even at the ranch. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I was on a chain gang in Houston for 2 weeks. Like, last time I broke a
2
cop's
weeks in
jaw."
August.
in August. He's like,
And
man,
you're
that
like,
sucks.
You got that right.
Which
Oh,
absolutely,
like, this
I
guy-
related with that.
This guy's he's not gonna fuck around. Like he's
No,
dangerous. Well, I mean, and they established it with Bruce Lee. Like, you know, and he's
Yeah.
like clowning Bruce Lee.
That was
Again,
I
that is a
enjoyed that scene.
callback. That is a callback to a myth, a legend of Hollywood. You know, everybody knows the famous story between Bruce Lee and I think it's Chuck Norris. They were in a movie together, and Chuck
Enter the
Norris,
Dragon.
yeah, and Chuck Norris won't let Bruce Lee. He doesn't want to film the scene where Bruce Lee defeats him in combat because he's like, I can beat up Bruce Lee, so he doesn't want to film the scene. So what happens is him and Bruce Lee actually fought, and Bruce Lee beat him up, so Chuck Norris had to film the scene. And that's a famous thread, just like the other things happening in the movie are callbacks to famous Hollywood stuff.
And I get that. I'm just going to finish my thought with the hippie walk scene. To me, I thought they were trying to build tension that George Spahn was somehow being
Right.
like
Was somehow being manipulated or murdered or
abused
killed
or something
yeah.
like in some way or dead, sitting there
Exactly.
dead. And I was going, he's like,
That's what they're building up to.
I didn't look at it the other way because I just didn't think it was the end for Brad Pitt
But
yet.
I
just didn't
so
think.
for me, like I didn't even know about George Spahn.
I mean, I don't know a lot about him. I just knew that was the ranch.
But I knew,
and
I
he
know
was
a lot of the Tate Bianca murders.
well. That's how
but
they
like,
got.
I really didn't like. I haven't gotten into like the Charles Manson mythos. So like,
Yeah.
for me, I knew it was a hippie commune. I knew Charles Manson ran it. I knew
that's
Charles
how they
was basically
paid
the
him.
cult. And so for me, I didn't know. I was like, maybe he is dead. Maybe they're trying to do it. And blah blah blah.
Did y'all were y'all impressed by Dakota Fanning as Squeaky Froman?
And anytime I see
I didn't
Dakota
really
Fanning,
recognize
I
her at first.
appreciate that
I
she's
didn't
getting
either.
work. I like Dakota Fanning.
I like
and
how she just does
and I like-
different
I like-
weird stuff.
Yeah, she's just like,
Good for
I'll do
her.
this.
I actually had to check to make sure that was Dakota Fanning because I didn't recognize her.
Yeah, it looks just like her.
And I knew she was in the movie, and I was like, man, she must have been Squeaky Fromm. So I looked it
Yeah,
up, and she
Squeaky
was.
Yeah, she was.
That's
I'm really good at like hearing people and picking people out. But if I like seeing people and like picking people out, like I had no idea that that's who that was.
Flower Child's played by the chick from that's made popular by Stranger Things 3.
Yeah,
The other one that ran off.
Hawk.
Yeah.
Ethan Hawke's
Ethan
Hawke's daughter.
If you're going by
I haven't
the
seen
Manson Sharon Tate
third
murders,
season.
Yeah.
I haven't
her
seen
her
third
character
season.
is the one that actually waited in the car. She didn't run off in the car in the true factual history of it, but she is the character that stayed in the car. That's supposed to be the
Right.
driver.
There's
But
the
a
getaway driver.
nice little piece of trivia on that is, of course, she's Uma Thurman's daughter. So it's
Oh, she is. Didn't know that.
Uma
Yeah.
Ethan
Thurman-
Hawke and Uma Thurman's daughter.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So of course, Uma Thurman, who's like what he called her his muse.
Yeah.
So
So she
he's-
got work. Yeah,
Oh, there you
got
go.
her daughter some job.
Interesting.
In the ranch scene, I don't have the background, and so I thought one of two things was going to happen because it did a good job of building the suspense for me.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
I was just
Because I
like-
was wondering, it's
because-
probably
There's
better
a lot
not.
of
Because
tension in
I
that
felt like,
scene.
and I thought one of two things was going to happen. Someone's going to shoot Brad Pitt.
Oh,
I didn't think he might die, but I thought he was going to get injured, or he's going to get into this room and it's going to be like this crypt keeper looking like desiccated body.
right.
Yeah.
And so I thought that scene worked for me. There was a really long build up to it.
Right.
And
You
like
know,
just like
which I
everybody,
didn't-
that was
I
my
don't know,
that's my
that's
biggest
so-
that
I
was my
didn't
biggest
like the build.
problem.
There were some scenes that worked so
that
well.
scene
But
of building tension is a micro version of what Tarantino is trying to do in the entire film with all the Sharon Tate
and
scenes.
I don't think he does it well.
No, he doesn't.
I don't think he does.
It doesn't translate.
I legitimately
me.
feel like the Sharon Tate scenes were almost throwaways. I feel like he almost threw her away.
You know what?
Like,
There's a specific scene in the when she's walking where the scene is it's far back, right? It's a super wide shot. It's far back and it tracks her walking.
I was in the restroom.
Yeah, I think we all took
Well,
a pee
but-
during that.
but it
that was the
tracks
scene
her
where
walking,
everyone
and
went to the
then
bathroom.
and then it goes behind a bush, and then it keeps tracking behind the bush, past the bush, transition at the bush. I don't
Gotta
need
get
the
the
second
extra
transition.
Sounds like a metaphor to me.
Sounds like a way of life.
There's a lot of metaphors he makes. It's
Transition
like,
at the
I think
bush.
somebody said earlier that someone was talking about the walking in step, and the whole thing is that at the start of the movie, you've got Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio walking in step together, and it's very important to catch that because then later, when you reach the third act and they're getting off the plane, Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio are no longer in step. It's Leo and Francesca.
Yeah, but you know what? That lasts for all of 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
So it means absolutely nothing.
If you want to talk about a throwaway character, talk about Francesca.
Oh, right.
I mean, come on. What was the point of that?
She punched the chick in the face.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
So, I mean,
Okay. Because we were there and we
What
spent
was
so
the
much time
point?
on it, I have to say my favorite fucking scene in the entire movie is when Brad Pitt beats the fucking shit out of that hippie for pumping the tire.
Oh,
that
yeah,
was
yeah, 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 yeah.
spectacular.
And he says,
He
fix
makes
it.
him fix it.
Yeah.
Fix it. You come one step closer, I'm going to knock all of his teeth out.
Yes.
I thought that was phenomenal.
he
Best
was,
part of the movie for
He
me.
was such a badass.
Yeah.
His pit bull
Yes, absolutely.
was spectacular.
Oh,
Real quick.
rat flavor and
Rat-
rat
rat and raccoon.
flavor.
Yeah,
Dog
yeah,
food.
yeah,
Rat
fantastic.
and raccoon flavored
Yeah, fantastic.
dog food. When he trips on the lace
Acid.
joint,
Oh, yeah, the
that,
acid dip cigarette.
that was pretty funny.
No, so I made a comment to her after we saw it was, I wasn't a fan of Brad Pitt's accent. That was what I didn't like about his.
I didn't mind it.
It
I
didn't
didn't either. I
feel.
didn't
It
even
didn't feel real. It didn't feel natural.
It sounded-
I didn't believe it coming out of his mouth.
Did it not sound like his same accent from the Nazi movie?
No,
He didn't have the same accent in the Nazi
because
movie?
that was way more pronounced.
Yeah,
and
it was.
that was like way more. It felt like he was trying to do that in service of the character. Right. This felt like I'm just going to do an accent because I think it feels cool, and it didn't play for me.
Okay.
I didn't like it. I thought he was a badass in the movie. But what I realized about the whole movie, about his whole character, is you get no development of his character at all. His character is only in service for the end. To be there at the end. While Leonardo DiCaprio is headphones on floating in the pool, Brad Pitt is only there service at the end.
You didn't feel sorry for Brad Pitt when he goes home and he's and you see the disparity between where Leonardo DiCaprio lives and where he lives, and he's with his dog and he's kind of a lonely guy. And then you don't feel
No,
sorry for him.
not at all.
He kind of lost his whole career.
Don't care.
because of whatever happened on the boat.
Do not care.
he had a better disposition on life than Leo's character.
I think
He
so.
did. And I think it's cool.
I think-
and that they really gave him depth of character when you do the flashback to what happened on the boat, and that's not really answered for us.
With his wife, you mean?
Yes, and which I think is a call.
I mean, I think it's answered. Like,
Did he or didn't
It's
he?
a
when
call-
the Family Guy scene on that, you were like, yeah, he
yeah,
hit
you
it with a
did
harpoon.
It's a callback.
He fucking shot that bitch with a harpoon.
Buried her in
Sorry,
the
go ahead,
ocean.
Andy.
It's a again. It's a callback to Hollywood with either the Natalie Wood incident or the Robert Shaw, or not Robert Shaw, the other guy that
Her husband, you mean?
Are you going to say Robert Wagner?
Robert Wagner.
That's Natalie Wood.
Yeah, but there's another guy. I can't.
That drowned his wife?
Well, there's at least two boat incidents that are callbacks to Hollywood, and then there's one where I think she got shot on the sidewalk. Anyway, to me,
Mannix.
it's a callback to that aspect of Hollywood. But while it may taint his character, we are shown later that he's cavalier when he's in the car and he has the hippie hitchhiker, and she says, "Hey, you want me to suck your dick while you're driving?"
Yeah, and he's
And
"How old are
you
you?"
see
I'm
that
not
he's
going-
kind of chivalrous, right?
Well,
Well,
no,
and
no,
even-
which
no.
again
he's
is-
like, I'm not going to jail.
Which is another callback to, say, Roman Polanski, right? And what he did on the couch.
Well,
So-
but I mean, and also the whole scene with the Spawn Ranch, I mean, he could have just been like, I don't fucking care about George.
Yep.
But like his whole point was like, and he like wakes him up. He's like, oh, I'm just making sure you're okay.
Right.
And the guy's like, who are you? And then he realizes like, this guy's fine. He's an asshole. So I'm just going to leave. But he
George
cared
says,
enough
I'm
to be
I'm
like,
touched that you
'cause-
checked on me.
I mean,
Yeah.
it was obviously, and he's probably for almost a fear. This guy, I mean, a stuntman, does all this stuff. So like he realizes the sense of danger he was probably in, because you see it, like he like turns back and looks at him all staring at him, and then he's like knocks on the door, and then he's like, I'm gonna come through that door, and because he just don't care, but he cared enough about the guy because he's like, man, did they kill George?
Right.
Did they kill this guy?
Yeah.
You know,
That's what I thought too. I thought we were supposed to be concerned about George's welfare, not so much.
I think Brad Pitt
at
is
that
concerned
time.
about George's welfare, which is putting him in danger.
It worked for me.
Well, I think
good,
I
good.
think
I mean-
well, and I think that's the goal of the scene.
Well-
I think the goal of the scene is that Tarantino is banking on people not knowing as much information on the whole behind the scenes of the Sharon Tate murders into the Spawn Ranch aspects of it.
I'm just saying it softens Brad Pitt's character.
No, I agree
he's not
with
like
you.
this hard guy.
I agree
who just
with
likes
you.
to beat people up and just a badass and beats Bruce Lee up and does all. He kills his wife and all this stuff.
It's supposed to give him depth.
I'm actually
I
sad
think so.
for when they're flying back on the plane. I'm actually sad for Cliff Booth, the Brad Pitt's character, because
I
I'm
am
thinking,
not.
what's he going to do? I mean,
No,
he doesn't
I
have
don't
a career.
care.
He
He's
doesn't
one of
have.
those people I feel like he's going to land on his feet.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
I
That's
probably
like
cared
just-
the most for his character out of
I
everybody.
felt like he didn't care.
I
Yeah.
feel yes.
I
that-
think-
and
I
that's
felt like
it.
he was
I
like,
think-
you know what? I'm gonna go get my
That's
dog,
what
and
I
I'm
mean.
just gonna go back to my
think
trailer, and
because
I'll be
of-
fine.
I think because of whatever happened in his past, there's a certain part of him that is, I don't want to say suicidal, but is not doesn't if something if physical harm
I
to
didn't
health
get
fell
that.
in-
I don't
What
think
I got
he
from this is a
wanted our
man who was
sympathy.
fine with his station in life.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do too.
He's
I don't-
completely happy with where he is.
He was perfectly okay with just making enough money to buy himself some macaroni and some dog
Yeah.
food for his dog.
Exactly. Of all the characters in this movie, he's probably the most well-adjusted.
The most content with his station in life.
Exactly. Most not well-adjusted, but the most.
The most content with his
Exactly.
station. He's
Yeah.
accepted where he's at. This is my life.
Yeah.
I'm all right with it.
Yeah.
You know,
he
he's like,
likes his friendship. He likes his
He never
relationship
got
with
mad
Li-
at Leo.
No,
for
he didn't.
I got
ending
a
the
deep sense of
relationship.
melancholy from him with the idea that he lost his whole career and couldn't work anymore.
I did
the
not.
idea that he's asking
didn't
Leo
either.
to hey, will you see if they'll use me? Can they use me? Can I do some stunts? Can I do the thing? No, it's the.
You
it's-
really
it's the-
felt like he just
it's-
asked.
it's
To me, it
that
was like he just
guy-
asked.
he's just asking
Yeah,
for some
same
work.
here.
Because like even when he thinks
But that
back,
was the whole flashback
But
to
even
how
when-
he messed
but then when he
everything
asked-
up.
but then even when that happens, he's just like,
Yeah.
well, yeah,
well,
I into the car. It was right. It was in the way, and
See-
it was just like, yeah, of course I did all this stuff, and like, well, I don't care.
Yeah, even after the flashback, he's just like, yeah, I see why he didn't hire me.
Yeah.
He's like laughing about it.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
He was like, fair enough. Yeah.
He says fair
Yeah,
enough.
you're right.
Yeah.
He says fair enough.
It was a funny
And he
part.
just accepted it. He lets it roll
I
off.
think
He just
I
lets
think he
it roll off
does
his
accept
shoulders.
it, but I do think for me throughout the film, his character has a certain sense of melancholy about.
I did not
There's a
get
certain
that at
unhappiness,
all.
melancholy
I
to
just
his
don't
character.
think his character
But
was
speaking
asking
of
for
a sense of
sympathy.
unhappiness and melancholy,
Leonardo,
It was
Leonardo
Leonardo was the one who was
in this
crying.
movie.
Yes,
all
he's
over
the one that's
But
place.
he's
crying.
more manic depressant. I mean, he goes
But,
from
I mean,
being
well-
very.
He was asking for our
and the next
sympathy.
thing he's happy, and then he's
Well, but
sad, and he's up, and he's down. and
literally
he's-
the case of what we're talking about. What you're probably saying about Brad Pitt is what we should be saying about Leonardo DiCaprio. His career's on the ending.
Agreed. Yeah.
No,
Yes.
by the end of the film,
And then
he's come to an acceptance. He's married. We're going to go get a condo.
He's
we're
also
gonna do-
telling himself he's going to blow
Married
his brains
to
out if he doesn't get his
Francesca
lines
And
right.
then remember,
But you're in the second act. When you reach the third act, he
No.
has come to terms. He's made his
No.
spaghetti westerns. He's found his wife.
I don't think that's true because when he gets invited up into Sharon Tate's house, you can see in his face like score.
Well, he said
it
that
fucking
already.
happened
That
because
he's
he
seen
even said when
in
he
the-
had that
in the
conversation
first act.
with
I
Brad
didn't mean a Roman
Pitt.
Polanski movie.
When he had the conversation with Brad Pitt in the first act,
It
was
has
like
to do with
all it would
Happily
take,
Ever After.
and all has to do, any minute now they could see me and I could be starring in the Roman Polanski flick. And at the very end, he gets invited up and he's just like,
well, because I mean,
fucking A.
That's
because
part
I
of the
made
Once Upon
it.
a Time, Happily Ever After.
But that's just it. He wouldn't
that's
have
the end of the
cared.
movie. But at the
Yeah.
beginning of the movie with Al Pacino, where he's like, "Oh, they're
Pacino.
getting ready, you buddy. Like this
We
is all the
just
signs
real
of you
quick
like
about-
having no
What
career."
a waste of Al Pacino. Like, why did you pay?
He should have just. I mean,
You could've
Geely
had
was his
anybody-
masterpiece.
you could've had
Oh,
he
anybody
should have
play that
just.
part.
Yes, Jess.
Has
Yes.
has like
Chili was his
name the
masterpiece.
last relevant movie Al Pacino did.
Geely.
Scent of a woman.
So,
Scent of a woman.
94
Thank you.
blocks.
Thank you.
I don't know.
88
A
minutes.
waste,
88
a
minutes.
waste of an Al Pacino movie, and we did Geely, and Al Pacino did Geely. So I have no problem with what
He
Al
was
Pacino
wasted
did
in this movie. That wasn't a good.
I don't know. I didn't understand it. But
yeah, I didn't either.
Because it didn't add anything to the plot.
Well,
Nah.
of course they did. Because
Well,
it drove Leonardo DiCaprio of like realizing he's losing his thing. I mean, he cries to the little girl.
Yeah.
That was. I mean, that little girl. I enjoyed.
She was adorable.
All of those little girl scenes, and when he
I thought she
reads
was
the thing, and he's like about the cowboy, the Bronco Buster.
Oh,
can't
I
do it
love
no more.
that.
That was great.
He starts crying.
That's what I was saying. That his acting in this movie
So good.
is amazing. I loved Leo in
And
this
he does a
movie.
little stutter. That's
Yeah.
Yeah, he stutters.
Yes.
He was great in this movie.
I
was
loved
good.
him in this
He was
movie.
good.
When he throws the little girl down, and he's just like, "I didn't hurt you" after the hit cut, and she's like,
and
"No, I got padding."
Well, and I think that's
That whole
that's
scene
the
was
turning
great.
point for his character. That's the turning point for his character that he's like,
He knows.
I know that I can do
Yeah.
this, and
But
I can
what's
be
really-
awesome at
And
this.
the
I can be
director's
good
like-
at this. But what I have to do is I'm gonna have to do this, and I have to go to Italy, and I have to do this. You can see that's his process as he's giving himself that pep talk in that trailer to have that scene, to get that praise from that director, which is what he is craving. That is his process, and he figures it out in that moment. And after that scene where he's like, you know, whatever he said, what all of that whole
And when the little girl, she's like, "That's the best acting I've ever
Exactly.
seen," and he's just like tearing up.
you
It was-
know that he's
it was
like
so
he's like
good.
okay
It
he's
was
like
so
okay
good.
I'm gonna go do these westerns, I'm gonna go do this,
Yeah.
that, and
And
the
now
other.
come back
He's
and play
going to
it.
kick back up his career.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and then he does a scene with Timmy Oliphant where
Well, I mean, he's at some point, there, he's like, okay, maybe I should give it up. I should do this. That when he gets back, they're in Italy or wherever. He's
Yeah.
talking to Brad Pitt and says, I might go back to Missouri.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? He might give it all up.
He,
but
he has realized that his career is not over no matter what. He has a new breath of life in his
But
in his
here's
future.
something else that's really weird. That end, that third act, they're back, and they all go for the two different groups. The Sharon Tate group and the Leonardo DiCaprio group go for
the
Mex-
different Mexican
The
restaurant.
different Mexican restaurants.
and it's such a clear distinction between who's out to be seen and they're saying hi to people, and he makes a joke about how's your wife doing when he sees the guy with the other woman.
oh, I'm just joking.
That was
I was just
hilarious.
joking. But they're they're
about
they're,
throwing a
they're-
grenade
they're
on a
out to be
conversation.
seen and bump elbows and do the thing, and yet Sharon Tate was so likable, down to earth, regular restaurants on a wait, trying to get their table, do their thing.
Yeah.
And it's so contrary to what we're talking about with the
But it was
end
also
and the
the
half.
reverse earlier in the movie when they're going to the Playboy Mansion. And, you know, they're like the life of the party at the Playboy Mansion. And everyone's like, even Steve McQueen's like,
Can I-
I never stood a chance.
Can I just say there was neither T nor A in this movie, and they were at the damn Playboy Mansion.
Thank you.
Like, why?
The
And they were at the
Can I
Playboy
get
Mansion
at
and
least one
Spawn
boob?
Ranch.
I want to say that
get a
the
titty?
actress playing
Can I
Mama,
get one
Mama
boob?
Cass was
Can you
hotter
give
than
me a
the
T?
original Mama Cass.
Or maybe two.
Was that Mama Cass?
Yes, that was
It's supposed to be.
Okay. I saw that the
Michelle
girl that
Phillips
was like,
and Mama Cass.
She was kind of a
were-
hot Mama Cass. I don't know. Something weird was going on there.
made an appearance.
I mean, talk about the most G-rated part of the Playboy Mansion.
I mean, there was no.
But that's where he commits one of his directorial. There's a couple of directorial sins he commits in this. One, the first 10 or 15 minutes, there's a line of narration, and I guess it's by Kurt Russell, who does all the narration at the end.
Yes, he does.
There's a line of narration, and he goes where he's telling the truth about the fact he has DUIs and he has.
Oh, yeah.
He's why he's a driver.
Cliff has to be his driver. So there's a line of narration there, and you're like, oh, this is going to be narrated. And then boom, there's like an hour and a half of silence before you get to the end, and
Yeah.
everything is set up by Kurt Russell. So
Well,
it's really
that's
strange.
That's another piece that I
I
didn't
guess-
And
get
then
with.
and then
and
you
here's-
have the sin of when they're at the Playboy party and the three famous people up there, and he throws their names on the screen
Yes.
in front of them, so we know who they are.
Exactly, and you
it's
never
not
see it
something-
again.
Not something that he does ever again. That stuff should not be like cut it. It doesn't
Exactly.
You're
Yeah.
setting up a film that you're not making at that
Well,
point.
nothing.
And that's why
You
it's
could
kind
have
of
cut that
it's
whole
kind of
Playboy
it's
Mansion
kind of
scene.
That's
it's
what I thought
messy and
too.
sloppy.
That's
but
what I thought
Quentin
too. The whole
Tarantino
scene.
as a director,
Well,
his style
but
is
when
messy
they
and
ended up
sloppy.
at the Playboy Mansion, I thought this was going to be
It's-
something to see a little bit of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Just like
You
a
wanted
little
some
bit.
TNA.
It was. He went,
A little bit of the sin, the,
the
Hollywood,
sultry side of the
but
60s.
yes, the sin of the culture of
This
the
is not
decade.
an NC-17
And-
movie.
Yeah,
no,
well, this
but,
isn't Showgirls.
but it is a Tarantino movie.
oh, she was
and
more showgirls action. That's
there
what
needs
she's
to-
for.
even if not at the Playboy Ranch, but I can't believe one girl wasn't walking
One girl
around
was
with
walking
her
around
boobs
with
hanging
boobs
out.
out.
I don't necessarily want to see
It
that.
was,
Still, I
the
think that
70s.
probably
Why
happened.
was there no bush?
But it was not
I know,
realistic.
right?
I think in the 60s they were still running around in
It's
like
called
bunny
transition.
suits.
That's called
They were
transition
in
of the
bunny
bush.
They had bunny suits on.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, the whole Playboy Mansion was just so Steve
was
McQueen
thrown
could give
in.
the exposition of like Jay and Roman Polanski. That was like
Yeah.
that was
Like,
the entire.
it was unnecessary
Oh, that
because
was
at
so-
the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
Well,
Well,
it's
the
just
only
so
thing
you
that
know.
matters was you got background.
I was like,
on
oh, that's the dude that
Sharon
got killed
Tate
with
and her
her.
friends.
So
Again,
But-
that's part of the fooling you. I'm going to give you some real facts here, so you think
It was-
that
yeah,
we're
it
gonna
was
end
real.
with the real
but
facts.
I think one of the things it highlighted was her and his Roman Polanski's star was on the rise, so they were going to all the swank parties and
Right.
Playboy Mansion. While Rick Dalton,
Was-
who
Is
was
on the-
to twilight of his career, who's
Right.
being the villains in all these TV shows now, and a failed movie actor and all that. So now he's just sitting
well,
at
he
home.
was more enamored with Roman Polanski than
Well, because he knew
Then-
Roman Polanski
because-
could, as
because
a
he could
director,
get him.
could give him a movie.
right, but
Right.
more than he wasn't quite as
but
taken
are-
by Sharon
so
as
are
he
you-
was
no,
with
I
Roman.
think what Doug's trying to say is he's showing like the juxtaposition
Right, yeah.
of a star on the rise versus a star
Yeah.
on his way down.
yeah. They mentioned he
What
had
she
to
did,
spare
I
me.
think he did that a
Rosemary's
couple
Baby.
times.
Spare me, take the
And
hour
then they did it
out.
at the end,
Right.
what you're talking about, where
Yeah, because you could do all that
Absolutely.
without an extra
Extra
hour. in
hour.
there.
Yeah, I think the Playboy Mansion was. If you're not gonna
I stand by
go
my,
there, just
it
take
could
it
have used
out.
tighter editing on it. I mean,
but not just tighter. Like they could have legitimately taken an hour out of
Complete
this movie.
scenes.
Like entire scenes unnecessary. They're
Sure.
it's like it was beautifully shot.
yep.
Yeah, but you can only
all
go
of
so
the
far
scenes,
with that.
all of the
And
cars,
you're
I can
absolutely
go
right.
beautifully shoot something.
all of the costumes. Oh, I didn't need to see that many dirty feet.
No, I know.
Oh,
What's he has but he has
Margot
a foot
Robbie
He's got-
obsession.
he has a
Yeah.
big
Her
foot
That
toes
is-
did
I
creep
did-
me
I
out.
know-
Like
I-
I
that's-
almost,
okay, I didn't
almost
need to
had
see
like,
hippie
leave
girls'
the theater
feet.
because of her toes.
I didn't need to
Which
see
one?
Margot Robbie's
with the
toes.
dirty feet?
I don't know if they were dirty. I just
Oh.
the toes didn't look right. They're like too long and thin and
when
pointed.
she
And I
had
was
him
like,
at
oh,
the movie theater.
Yes.
Oh,
stuck
my
all over
God.
her.
Fuck your feet down. That's
They were-
disgusting.
if you're gonna show your feet, have feet like mine. Have like some nice hobbit hairy
gee. Oh,
toes.
they're so beautiful, Andy.
Have
Yeah.
model feet.
Oh, Doug.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
mine.
Well, y'all's toes look normal. Her toes were like they were long
No.
and pointed.
Andy, I have you know, I have beautiful feet.
Yeah, I can see them right now.
We
for
all-
folks
here.
at home.
What is your wiki
We'll,
feet score?
we'll each post a
Actually,
picture
you
of our
could see
feet
all the
No, we
penguins'
will
feet
not.
except for
I
mine at
challenge
the
you to find a
moment.
callus. I challenge you to find any
No,
flaw
thank you.
on my feet.
No, thank you.
No,
I,
no.
I will
Let's
not
touch the
take that
tips
challenge.
of our feet together in solidarity.
No, let's not.
No, I want to catch whatever y'all feet
Let's,
have.
let's really not.
Yeah, that's grossing me out.
I'm like, I'm gonna be like David Duchovny in Zoolander. I'm gonna put my
Put glass.
feet in glass.
He's a foot model.
I'm a hand man.
I'm not like those face and body boys.
But yeah, there were too many dirty feet. Like, and there were like some close-ups of some feet.
In true Tarantino fashion.
I didn't need them. You could
There
have
were
cut them.
close-ups of feet, absolutely.
But
He loves them.
I saw this movie and I came home and I was gonna write a bunch of stuff down and I was telling Kevin this and I was like trying to remember all the scenes and then like I really started remembering them all and I'm like, that's the only scenes in this movie. It seemed like this. How this movie go so long?
because
Because there were so many cutaways. There was just like, oh,
Yeah.
I did this acting in this movie.
And here's a
scene
15-minute
from
cutaway.
the movie.
if you took all the driving around scenes, the length of time that he shows cars driving in around in this movie, it's kind of I think it was just too much. Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
you could I think you could lose 30 minutes of the film just cutting out driving around scenes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
they were
I
really
agree.
not necessary, except for the
No.
ones where he meets up with the hippie girl.
But
because
I-
that sets up
the
the whole
whole thing-
ranch
And like,
deal.
like so when he's driving around with the like before the hippie when we meet like when he sees her, it's like he's like at a stoplight and it's like we'll wait for the stoplight, move up to the next stoplight, and you're like, really?
For the love
Like,
of
what are we
God,
doing
move
here?
it along.
Exactly.
Well, I think
Move it along.
yeah.
Well, I know Quentin Tarantino loves Los Angeles. And
Yeah.
I know this is a love story to Los Angeles, but
He's as bad as the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
ugh,
well, that's what
no,
I think.
thank you.
I think that was the point of those for him. This
Those
was
driving scenes, that was exactly what
to
that
get
was.
to get the background.
That's why there was a 30-minute Margot Robbie walking around scene.
Ugh, God.
Was it?
Yeah, that was.
Did
it
she?
was too
Did she?
much.
Did she have to go in and buy that book? We didn't need to see her buy that book.
Oh yeah.
Because it doesn't play off.
That's
It
true.
doesn't
I
pay
forgot
off.
about that.
She never gives it to
Test
him.
of the
Roland Polanski's gone the whole time.
I know it doesn't pay off at all.
At all.
I think she
That
gave the
scene
book
could
to
have been gone.
the cinema manager.
No, just to
she
take the
held
picture.
it so they could take the picture.
I know, but I thought that
No.
did he give it back?
he gave it back. It was
Oh.
the first edition.
I was like-
She bought it for her husband.
Like, I
maybe
like that
she-
scene, like her taking the picture, and like that's me on the thing, and they're like, "Oh, hey, this is."
because it establishes her likability.
Yeah.
but
No,
the
that's
book
cool.
scene was unnecessary.
And then she goes and like they
The
laugh,
whole
they
walking
laugh
back
at-
and forth, all
yes,
that junk.
They
unnecessary.
laugh at
I
her
know.
comedy scenes.
I agree.
You know, she's like, "Oh wow, they
Yeah.
really like me in this
And,
movie."
and then you get to see her feet.
What did y'all think about so they used
I'll be honest,
the original
I could
movies?
pretty much watch.
Margot,
Anything
I like
any
Margot
part of
Robbie.
Margot Robbie.
She
They
is-
used Sharon Tate.
Yes,
And-
the
yeah.
actual Sharon Tate
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah, that was
I
kinda
liked
cool.
it. But
Oh, yeah.
I think you can see
That was cool.
if you watch enough
Yeah.
real Sharon Tate movies that what Margot Robbie is doing is playing the Sharon Tate from the movie. Her facial expressions and stuff are stuff that I think she pulled directly out of Sharon Tate movies. She saw Sharon Tate make that face. She makes that face. Now, I don't know if that's the real Sharon Tate or not, but the character works for me. And like I said, the whole point of her character is to build that sense of dread and tension as
Before
you're
we finish
getting towards
the
the
movie, I do
end.
want to talk about the ending of this movie.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's what I was like. Okay, so he goes to Italy, makes some movies, finds a wife, and this is Leonardo DiCaprio. They come back. He has to let
Yes, let Cliff go.
he has to let Cliff go because he can't afford him anymore.
So they're
That
going to have,
whole-
they're gonna have their last hurrah.
Yes,
and
they're
that's
gonna
why
have-
they
yeah.
went and had their last hurrah at the Mexican restaurant. And then they came home,
Mhm.
and this begins the final act of the scene of the movie. Because they come home from the restaurant.
Yeah, I made
and-
that head motion because I think the third act begins with the
them
flight
coming
home.
back from Italy.
Yeah, the flight.
with the
Right.
well,
With the narration of
well,
what
this-
happened in
Italy.
Italy and the flight
real
home.
quick, you guys are bagging on the narration because it's not consistent. I posit that if he didn't narrate that, we would have had
We wouldn't have
another
had
45 minutes of movie.
They had no
I would have
fucking
been
clue.
happy if this movie had been like showing them in Italy. I would have loved it.
They could have done.
I loved the Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt
Dynamic.
team.
Sure.
They were great together, and I
Yeah.
thought it was I enjoyed them in this movie. But when he goes and takes the walk, and then they pull up the car, and he comes out there, it's like, "You dirty fucking hippies, get out of my street!"
Yeah.
Get off my
so
lawn.
great. It was.
Yes.
I loved it.
Yes.
I
Yes.
love
The end
Leo's.
was great.
So where I
His rant while
absolutely
he's
hated
holding the
Brad
picture of
Pitt's
margarita.
accent.
He's like,
It's so awesome.
"Get the fuck out of here!"
And he's holding a picture of margarita. Yeah.
glug glug.
From the not in a
From
cup,
the
from
blender.
the actual
Yeah.
blender.
He was blending
Dude.
some frozen margaritas.
Where I absolutely loathed Brad Pitt's accent, I fucking loved Leonardo DiCaprio.
He was so good.
He does. That's his act. He does that accent. And
Oh man, I was so
several
I was
movies.
so waiting when okay, so he gets
That-
cut.
it's
He
the
gets
aviator
caught
accent.
having
It's
smoked
the
the
aviator.
acid cigarette, and here he is in a situation. And he's laughing about it himself because he's I guess stoned or whatever. He's high. He's on acid, but he's holding that can of dog food.
And
And
then
I'm
he
thinking,
licks
and
it.
all I can think about is that can of dog food. I was like, you better use that can of dog food. You better use that can of
They
dog
hit
food.
the face with raccoon meat.
Great payoff.
And he's
Great
like-
Yeah, it
freaking
was. It
payoff.
was a
And
great
when he's
payoff.
like, "Are y'all real?"
I'm as real as a donut.
He says, "I know you."
I'm the devil. But
No,
he's like,
it was
No, it was
something
something
stupid
stupider.
like Rex.
He goes, "I'm the devil, here to do the devil's work." And then Brad Pitt says, "No, it was stupider than that.
It's like Rex.
It's like Rex."
It's
The whole ending was
and then
spectacular.
the
I
tension of
love
him
the
like
end.
keeping the dog at bay, and you're
Yes.
just like, "Oh
Yeah,
my god,
that dog, man, I love that dog.
Yeah.
Come on.
Beautiful dog.
And then he caves her
Very
face
well
in
trained.
with the dog food.
Yeah.
Oh. And then the payoff of her running through the thing, walking in the pool, and you see Leonardo DiCaprio get up, and you think he's like, "I'm gonna go hit him with like a baseball
No,
bat."
I
I'm
thought he was
like,
going to go call the cops.
and he
Fucking
pulls
flamethrower.
Flamethrower.
And the
And
flamethrower
at least
makes some other
at
appearance.
least that's a vignette that,
That pays
pays off.
Thank you. That was a good. I know that
And then
was
later, at the end, when he's talking to Jay, and he's like, "Yeah, well, I hit him with the flamethrower," and he's like, "Oh, the one from 43." He's like, "Yeah,
Yeah, it still
and
works.
it was that was
yeah. The
his
end.
Tarantino's script writing is still like top notch. Like his banter, he still does.
Yeah, the dialogue,
all of that
the
is
dialogue,
great.
and everything was great. Yeah,
Yes.
I will agree with that.
Yes.
It's his over bloated world building.
I
that
think
don't
part
like.
of it, he felt a little bit. I think he was trying to be artsy, and that's why some of the scenes take so long. And you talk about the shot of her walking behind the bush and stuff, trying to make some weird metaphor that no one's getting.
Well,
we're all just like, can you get on with the story?
You wanna
Can you
talk
get on
about-
with the
hey, you
story?
wanna
I
talk
think
about
he
blood
was
and world
trying
building?
to be artsy.
One of the things I heard and I read, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was he wrote 10 episodes of Wanted Dead or Alive or whatever his failed show was.
Bounty Law.
Bounty Law.
Bounty Law.
He has 10 episodes he wrote of Bounty Law. Like he could make a TV show if he wanted to. He has those scripts. He wrote 10 episodes
He
For
knows
this
what.
movie?
for this movie.
Just so we had a background and idea of what
real
Bounty
quick,
Law was about.
You said this was a book? It feels like I watched an entire book.
But I mean, like, so
It was not an adaptation of a book. Like they took the book scene by scene and put it on film.
So, and Rick Dalton, a lot of it is he is a smorgasbord of a lot of characters.
Yeah.
One of them is Steve McQueen, who did a TV show called Wanted Dead or Alive, something like that, for a couple seasons. And he mentions how he says, and I lost it because I decided I want to be a fucking movie actor. Well, that's how Steve McQueen, in a hiatus, made... Not The Great Escape. He made another movie, which launched him into being a superstar.
Right. Rick Dalton wanted to do
And so
that.
that's what Rick Dalton
Bullet, yeah.
was like.
Right.
It's kind of like slightly based on like what Steve McQueen did, and then he's based off a lot of the like Clint Eastwood, who went on to go do Italian movies.
I was
and-
wondering when I was like, when are they going to mention Clint Eastwood? Like, you're talking about Italian
I think
spaghetti
he said
westerns.
Yeah,
He says there's two spaghetti western directors that you want to work for, and one is the one he ends up working for, but he never names a second. Kind of curious who that.
I thought
Sure,
he
he
did.
admits
I
something
thought so too.
I
I
thought
thought
he
they
mentioned
mentioned
it.
two.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
remember the
Sergio
names, so.
Leone was the one who did the spaghetti westerns, like
Good, Bad, the Ugly.
Good, Bad, the Ugly.
Yeah.
That was Sergio Leone who did those. He's the one you want to do. The other ones, I don't think he's the one that he
The
did.
bad neg.
I don't know who said it. I think Kevin said it, that it was a very long slog for the payoff at the
Yeah,
end.
for the 2 minutes.
The 2 minute. Well,
I will give
that's
the
a
last-
guide.
I did. I heard.
Yeah,
that
it was
was what
I will
heard,
give
yeah.
the last 15 minutes of
I
this
don't know.
movie.
I
to
enjoyed
Flippers Up.
more
Yeah,
of the
the last
film,
15
and
minutes of this movie
I
is
think the
Flippers
15
Up.
minutes are
Wonderful.
fantastic.
It's wonderful, but oh my god, to get there.
I enjoyed the ride for the most part.
I will say,
I did not. I more than several times. I was like, "Oh my god, let's speed this up."
So I saw this movie at 7:30, and I'm not one to look at my watch, and I was like, "What time is it?"
I looked
and
at
I
the
said,
time.
"It's only 9:30."
Yeah, I looked at the time too.
Like, I'm gonna be here for
right there at the
so
2 hour mark.
yes,
long.
so did
I was like, "You
at
gotta
9
be
o'clock.
kidding
At
me."
9 o'clock, I was just like, because I didn't want to be.
Oh, and
like
by the way,
that?
the 9:30 mark was the ranch.
Yeah.
When he was at the ranch,
But it was
I
the
was
2
like,
hour mark, right?
And I was like,
Yeah.
But that's
This
just, for me
movie
where the
still has
movie
another
started picking
hour.
up. That,
Yes.
to me, that's
I
almost
thought
where the
the
movie
same.
started.
And I looked
Yeah,
at the
we're
time.
30
I was like,
minutes
oh
to
my
the
God.
end.
I still
Yeah.
have almost an hour.
Right, because again,
No. It's 9:30. I saw the movie at 7:30.
I think it's about almost
the
3 hours.
time at the movie was 7:30. But we remember we had 30 minutes.
Right.
Of,
Oh, okay. Because I
Started-
checked.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's right.
So
yeah.
the
I
movie
think
really
the
starts
It's like
ranch-
an hour in.
I think the ranch scene is about halfway through, but there's a good point up until the ranch scene where, again, I think Tarantino loses the narrative. You don't.
Absolutely.
You're not.
I
You
want-
don't know what you're like. What? Where is he going? Whose character am I supposed to be following? Who am I interested in?
When I did walk out, when I thought about it, when I sat in my car and I thought about it, I said, "Is there a story to this movie? Like, it's a movie, but is there actually a story
No.
behind it? Like, there's no it's almost the murders are like supposed to be like the driving force in the background, like behind.
Well, you know-
but then you like completely lose it with Rick
You
Dalton.
did
Yeah.
catch
Right.
right when you found. Okay, so you feel like you've been sitting there a long time, and you're getting toward the end. The third act has started. And you're going, are we going to get to the murders? And they're watching TV, and on the TV, the guy says, "And now, folks, the moment you've all been waiting for." And then you pretty quickly cut up to the hippies pulling up to the drive, and you're getting right into the.
Yeah. Now,
It's
that's
almost
clever.
like he
That's-
kind of knows
yeah.
that he's held you in your seat for this long
Yes,
because
you
you're
know.
waiting
Well,
to
and so
see
I
the
mean, well,
sharing.
I was happy that they.
that
Papers.
that
But the whole
sentiment
time-
makes me more angry at the movie.
But I'll say this:
He is. I honestly think he's using the Sharon Tate murders to keep you in your seats.
I do too, and I don't
thought-
like that.
No, I think he's using his name to keep you in
Yeah,
your seat.
that's what I think.
I was-
It's
Yeah.
a Quentin
He
Tarantino
is
movie.
But
pretentious.
I think he's using his own
anybody knows
self-bloated
pretentious,
narcissism to think that I want to go and relive all of my TV youth, and I'm going to direct all of my TV youth and I'm going to see it on the screen. I'm going to make it perfect.
And here's the thing.
That's what I
think I might have been less upset about this movie and how long it is if I had seen it at home.
Or if it hadn't been as long.
If I caught it on HBO and I'd been able to get up and do other stuff and come back, this is a perfect movie for that.
To be honest, I really
background.
want to see it again.
If I would have seen this movie at home, I would not have finished it.
It's just so long. It
I
didn't
don't.
need to
I'm
be
curious.
that long.
I'm curious what will happen on a second viewing.
It kills me a little
Either
bit.
it's going to get boring and I'm going to like it less and less, or I'm going to start to appreciate more and more of what he's doing.
I think
in the
You're
you'll
film.
probably
probably going to
appreciate
appreciate
more
it
and
more.
It kills me a little bit every time I hear you complain about how long movies are, and I'm glad they didn't show. I was worried because like I know what happens, and I'm like I do not want to see a 9 month pregnant woman.
But
getting killed Quentin
I didn't want
Tarantino
to see it
style.
Of course
I was
not.
like, I
Yeah.
do not want to see this. I was like,
Right.
please, like, don't show what I think
Yeah.
you're about to start showing me. And so I was glad they went in that other direction. And I had a feeling like this is going to be like Inglourious Bastards, where they end World War II.
Yeah.
I have no problem with lengths of movies. I've watched Lonesome Dove. Lonesome Dove is one of my favorite movies.
Oh my God, it's so good.
That's 8 hours.
You just said like, it's not like you were like, I'm gonna go to a movie theater for 8 hours and watch Lonesome Dove.
No, but I've sat and watched Lonesome Dove in one sitting.
Here's the thing.
And I find it good. What I dislike about long movies is length for the sake of length.
I think you
And it's
tend to
not necessary.
complain
If it's
about.
not necessary for the story, it's not necessary for the story.
No, you get so bloated. Why do I need to see somebody walk all the way the fuck down a
I'm
driveway
not
and back
complaining
up?
I'm not saying this movie in general. I'm saying that
Live, Die,
you
Repeat
have
was
a
long.
you have a bit.
No.
Where it seems-
look, Live, Die, Repeat was long. It was necessary to be that long for the story.
Exactly, and I love that
Sometimes
movie.
It's not necessary for the story.
Because-
at the minimum, an hour of this movie was unnecessary for the story.
I
That was
don't,
being
Agreed.
I'm
told.
not disagreeing with it. I'm just saying.
No,
that
I said the same thing about Prestige. The same thing about there's things that could be taken out. There's editing that could be done to make the movie just as good.
I'm just going to say,
but
as far as
tighter.
I'm concerned, length doesn't matter.
I'm gonna like purposely start picking really long movies. This is gonna be fun.
I don't think Andy's.
You're gonna hear this from me a lot.
And then we're gonna complain. We're gonna argue a lot.
Okay, but regardless of what your stance is on the other movies, this movie could have
Agreed. It could have been
edited
shorter.
down
And
to
that's what's annoying
hour and a
about
half.
it.
an hour and a half, maybe an hour and 45 minutes, and still told the same story.
And again, that's why I want to see it again, because I want to I want to see if it holds true what I've said about. Again, I've only seen it one time. I had to go to the restroom during the film, so I don't really know.
We
And
all
you
did.
didn't miss anything.
I kind of want to see it again to
We
see
all
if,
had to go to the
if
restroom
one
during
of two
the
things is going to happen. Either the movie will get more and more boring for me, and I'll go, it's not as great as I thought it was, or I'm going to appreciate the time he took to tell the story more and more.
What,
I just
you-
don't think
yeah.
you needed.
I don't
the
know
time.
which it is. I
I'm
really
not
don't know
gonna-
which
I
it
don't
is. And
think
right
you
now,
need-
I'm
Not gonna
giving
go
it
see
two
this again.
flippers because honestly, the character performances are awesome.
They are.
And that end is freaking A.
The end was.
Yeah.
The end was really good.
Yeah.
Would y'all like to hear a Charles Manson fact
Sure.
regarding this movie?
Okay.
Serial killer facts by
Yes.
Jess.
Yeah.
Serial Killer
So-
Corner.
Dirty Penguin presents Serial Killers.
No.
Okay.
For
No, go
her,
ahead.
it's serial killer gossip.
Sit.
What you
sit
got?
with me.
What you got?
Come closer. Tex, the guy
Yeah.
who was kind of the leader and killed.
Based on a true story.
Yeah,
True
yeah.
person.
Him and the two girls were the ones
Absolutely.
who got
Yep.
were sent to prison for first degree murder. Tex actually had children while he was in prison, and the Tate family, especially her mom, had lobbied to make it illegal for prisoners that have a first degree murder conviction should not be allowed to procreate.
To have
Wow.
conjugal visits.
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow.
Because he fathered two children while he was in prison.
Because
So
What would
didn't
be crazy?
Bundy fathered a child while he was in jail?
Oh really, Bundy?
Yeah.
That's after this. So I don't know, but her family really like pressured to make a law to if someone goes to jail for first degree murder, they should not be having children while they're incarcerated. So that was interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, this guy was evil. Like
I could get behind that.
right? Not letting first
Kevin,
degree murder.
thoughts?
What a nice way to tie up this
let 'em get off,
episode.
man.
Round
I
They're
up
told
already
you
in
there's a
jail
man's
for
a
the
family
rest of-
fact, and
No, I love it.
Yeah.
It's a hot take.
It's a hot take.
That's a hot take. Thank
well,
you.
and I kind of thought of it when you mentioned. I wondered how her family thought about this, and they did. They put her in a very lovely light.
So I read a couple articles, and like one of them was that they agree that they liked what she had done in the movie.
Good.
Yes.
The direction this movie.
I
went.
think
they
they made
thought-
her look lovely and just as beautiful as she was. in
They
real life.
kind of turned her into a
Likeable,
Disney princess.
Kind.
Yes,
they
yes.
did.
She was basically a
They
saint in this
absolutely
movie.
did.
You know, she was friends with
Yeah.
her friend. Like, you know, they did all that, and
Yep.
like she was nice to
Well,
everybody. And
A saint that they implied was super friendly with two guys.
Well, she was
Well-
engaged to both. Well, she was engaged to the first one and married the second one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
She just was able to
the
stay.
first one
She was just able to stay
really close
friends
to
with the
her.
first one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think they
Yeah, I
were
don't
all
think
actually
I don't
friends.
feel like they implied anything untoward necessarily.
They yeah.
Other than, in
and
fact,
I don't think they've
in
ever.
fact,
and
when,
like that
when-
was a real. That's like real.
when
and
Steve McQueen is telling the story at the Playboy Mansion, and the person next to him says something that sort of implies what you're saying, and Steve McQueen says, "No, all I'm saying is she has a type, and I never had a chance. I don't fit that what she liked."
Yeah, but I mean, and like they've never implied that there was even in real life, because like the guy really did live with them. And
Oh,
like
wow.
that, what he was saying was true. She really like she left and then broke up with him and married Roman Polanski. But then like he did stay around and live with him and everything else, and he was like famous for he was a hairstylist, so he
Yeah.
was very famous for what he did.
That's the whole story that he was telling at the Mexican. Was it at the Mexican?
Yeah, he was
restaurant?
getting paid
Where he was getting paid
$1,000
$1,000
yeah,
regardless.
he was a big time
and like,
hairstylist
Steve
guy. Like,
McQueen and a lot
yeah.
of like the high end movie stars, and like I think they were saying like barbers at the time were charging like $1 to $2, and he was charging $50. And so, but like the things he was doing, like blow dryers, like people weren't using blow dryers. He was one of the first people to like hairstylists to bring blow dryers from Europe and like use them. And so he was very in demand, and like he opened up franchises of hairstyling places. And then of course he got murdered. So
right?
Huh. Except in this movie, he did
Didn't.
not.
No, they didn't.
by Emil Hirsch, it was Emil Hirsch.
Right. Emil Hirsch. What do we all think about Emil Hirsch's?
Okay, so we're just like we're like, wow, he's aging really, really well. And then I looked him up, and I'm like, fucker's younger than me. Of course he's aging well.
At 27, he looks great.
He's like in his early 30s. I'm like, how is that even possible?
But he fell off the face of the planet.
Kevin, what do you
like-
think about Emil Hirsch's acting in this movie?
I had no idea it was him.
Do you
You would-
know which character he
Nope.
plays? Okay.
Do you know who Emil Hirsch is?
Nope.
Girl Next Door.
I'm with Kevin on this one.
Where?
Did you see Girl Next Door?
What was the one with Justin Timberlake where they take the kid out and kill him?
Oh,
Alpha
Alpha Dog.
Did you see Alpha Dog?
That's a true
No.
story too.
No,
Yes, it is.
That's a
I'm
pretty
with
good
Kevin
movie.
on this one.
I can't watch it.
Emil Hirsch.
I don't know what.
The one where he goes camping out in the woods in
Oh,
Alaska and kills himself and gets killed.
Speed
because-
By
Racer.
the bear? Yes.
Speed Racer,
Yes.
yes.
Speed Racer.
Oh,
Yes.
there you go.
I love me some Speed Racer, man. I love that movie.
It's so campy.
Jesus.
I've
Well,
never-
Penguins?
Sorry, penguins.
Yeah, let's
Once
wrap it
upon
up
a
before
time
we're
in
guilty
Hollywood,
of making it.
We've got 6 out of 10 flippers up, and I mean, I
It's a long slog. It's
Go
a long
see it.
slog.
I won't see this again.
I will not.
Andy has implored you,
You know, I probably
Penguin
won't see
Army,
it again.
to go see
If I do see it again, it will be at my leisure on an HBO or whatever.
Yes.
Chances are, if you're listening this far into it, you've already seen it.
I really hope you have.
So why don't you tell us what you loved about this movie? Because we don't want to hear you.
Do you
butcher it.
agree with us? Do you disagree with us? Are you in?
Are you team-
Are you team Andy Doug? Are you team
The rest of the
everybody
world,
else?
the rest of the penguin
No,
world.
I'm here all alone. I
Or
straight
as
up
I
said
like to call
zero.
it, are you team movie peasants?
No, and people are saying this is like the
Now
best
listen here.
Quentin Tarantino movie ever.
that is
and I'm just
not
like,
true.
that
This
is
is
I
not
don't know
even-
who
true.
these people you're
Me
quoting,
and Andy have
but-
done
This is not
whole,
even in the top 8.
Is that Quentin Tarantino saying that?
Me and Andy have done this
review.
whole movie review, like swirling our brandy glasses around, looking down
With
upon
our
these
monocles.
movie peasants.
You think just because I think a
You know,
movie's too long?
one day, you other penguins will be able to
you
step
just
up
don't
onto the
understand what he
hierarchy
was
that
trying
is
to
Doug
say.
and Andy and understand that there is a certain amount of pretension you need to bring to watching movies. And if we can't bring that pretension,
you
we
have
can't.
to be able to bend far enough down and smell
You
your
have to
own
say-
farts.
You have to say,
It's called transitioning the bush.
if someone complains about this and you don't say what Tarantino was trying to do, then you
No,
just are.
I'm sorry.
If you're,
I
if you're
represent the
too
common man.
concerned about length instead of transitioning the bush, then you know what? You haven't reached that
I like to-
level of movie critic.
I like to consider myself an expert at transitioning the bush, but this film did not do that for me.
We're taking this review down the Frank hole.
No, it's up the Frank hole.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
we're taking
Frank
it
hole.
up the Frank hole.
I love the Dirty Penguin mythology we got going.
By the way, Quentin Tarantino's best work was in an episode of Golden
Golden
Girls,
Girls,
when
yes.
he played an Elvis impersonator.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
All right.
You can't go wrong with the Golden Girls.
Penguin Army.
Love it.
That does it
Thank
for
you for
our
being
Once
here.
Upon a Time in Hollywood episode.
Our pilot.
Which has
Our pilot, The Dirty Penguin presents.
Showing. We need some
Which
practice.
our review has gone almost as long as the movie.
There you go.
Oh no, it hasn't.
And all of our
We are
feet are
still
exposed,
well
except
well
Andy's.
third under. Jeez. So check us out. Leave comments on our YouTube page. Leave comments on our Facebook fan page at The Dirty Penguin Presents. Our Instagram fan page at The Dirty Penguin Presents. Our Twitter fan page at Dirty Presents. You can check us out and see all of these things at our website at thedirtypenguinpresents.com. Please stay tuned for our season 4 coming up very soon, which will be titled Movies Critics Hated But Audience Loved. That's right. Movies critics hated but audience loved. Coming to a podcast player near you.
Our first season that was selected by a fan.
By fans,
Yeah.
right? By
Thank
our
you so
fans.
much
Our
for all of your
worldwide.
submissions.
Our universal fans. That's right.
Yeah, our universal fan. Thank you.
That's right. All right, that does it for the Dirty Penguin Presents. Now showing.
Now showing.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.